So welcome, 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 Janine. We give thanks for your visionary leadership. As always, at Sets You begin all things by acknowledging our creator, by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So Janine, please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers and share a bit about your remarkable work.
Miigwech, Victor. That was a beautiful opening. So as you said, my name is Janine Manning. I'm joining you from my traditional territory, which is the Saugeen and Anishinaabe Keen. Folks may know it by its colonial land names of Grey Bruce County and some of stretching over to Simcoe. I'm in Owen Sound, and so this is the territory of the Confederacy of Three Fires, Odawa, Potawatomi, and Ojibwe, and I'm a member of the Chippewas of Nawash, which is one of two communities that makes up the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, with our sister community, Saugeen First Nation. So I say miigwech for this beautiful day and opportunity to chat with you, Victor. A little bit about me and my work. So I, after 10 years of surviving middle management in the charitable and not-for-profit sector, I finally turned my side hustle into a main hustle and started my own consulting business. I wasn't too creative when I registered the business. It's just Janine Manning Consulting. And so I'm focused on bringing my experience from the not-for-profit charitable sector to clients who are on their diversity, equity, and inclusion journeys, in particular with Indigenous relations and reconciliation. And my passion is with grant making and philanthropy and fundraising. So from that lens, I also have another hat. I'm also the chair of Laidlaw Foundation. It is my privilege and a joy to represent an organization supporting youth in Ontario who are challenging three systems: education, child welfare, and the justice system. And as we know, this is predominantly Black and Indigenous youth. So it is such a pleasure to watch the work of Laidlaw and the support they offer to young people challenging those systems for better in this province.
That's incredible, incredible work. And once again, I appreciate your leadership and your candor and all that you do for so many. So my next question is, what inspires you about your current work? What has you curious right now? Yeah.
Two things inspire me. One is clients who are ready to be brave and take those steps towards reconciliation, who are ready to, who come with open minds and open hearts to learn and to grow and to be in better, respectful and reciprocal relations with Indigenous folks, people, organizations. So they inspire me. And then also the young people inspire me, whether it is young people who are grantees of the Laidlaw Foundation and the work that they do, or youth in my community or elsewhere who are on the grounds, like really using those philanthropic dollars, using their skill sets, and progressively taking us forward.
That's incredible, and I couldn't agree more. So my next question is, what challenges and barriers do you face in your work, and what are some of the approaches that you take to overcome some of these challenges?
So with my consulting hat, I would say it's challenging at times when potential clients reach out and, it's as though they're, addressing reconciliation and Indigenous relations as an obligation. Not one that's welcomed. And it's more about what can you do for us, as opposed to how can you guide us along this work? Because I really feel consultants, especially in that area, they're not there to lead the work or develop the work for you. We're just here to support your learning so that you can create strategic steps towards these relationships. Because after all, that is what reconciliation is about. So I find that challenging when folks bringing their open mind and an open heart. It's just another KPI, on their strat plan that they got to do. That is challenging for me as an Indigenous person, as a consultant, and how do I overcome it? I'm very candid. I don't hold back. I tell folks, you might have to rethink if your readiness and your ability to see through this work. The other challenge, so in the philanthropic philanthropic community, I have periodically through my leadership had to confront, white supremacy, racism, and it's a very large sector, and it is predominantly old white men, and so it is hard to come in, some spaces as an Indigenous woman with very different lived experiences and ideas about, decentralizing whiteness and spreading wealth. So I self-care helps me through those challenges, and making sure that I'm surrounding myself with the right people that support me and I support them.
Ashe, ashe, ashe. I couldn't agree more. What you shared. I appreciate your candor, your transparency, and your consistent authenticity. I feel that those performative, very extractive models are exhausting and daunting. And so, yeah, and that KPI for so once again, I appreciate you sharing, because I couldn't agree more. And yeah, thank you for staying with so many experience in different contexts, but sometimes don't have the courage to actually speak truth to power. So my next question is, do you have a set of key priorities right now in your work?
Self-care right now. I feel as though I was doing three different jobs. I had a 9 to 5, and then I had two part-time contracts I was balancing for about a year. So one of the reasons I went into consulting is because I'm able to be candid as an individual, as a business owner. I felt I couldn't do that as a 9 to 5 employee. So self-care, I'm giving myself the month off in December because I can do that. So that's one of the beautiful things about consulting, is that I can put myself first as my employee. But I really want to come back in January refreshed, and then consider myself as a consultant, what my brand is. I know I have a platform, although it's a very modest platform, and I want to be able to use it in a positive way to spread abundance and joy. And, that starts with me being well with self-care. That starts, so that I can be that authentic person and show up for not only Indigenous community efforts, but also just the larger social impact sector. So yeah, maybe some rebranding in January, and just to kind of move my commitment to abundance and joy forward.
And the brand isn't modest. I'm a huge fan of the brand, and I'm a huge fan of what you share. Because in a time when so many are silent around so many things, it's always remarkable to see folks that are willing to share openly and operate from a place of abundance, even in terms of intellectual abundance, or what folks may call intellectual property. I like the word intellectual abundance, and you share openly, and it's very transformative every time I read anything that you write. So I give thanks, as always, for what you do for so many.
Miigwech, Victor. Thank you for those kind words.
No problem. So my next question is, how do you feel about the future of philanthropy in Canada?
Philanthropy in Canada has not yet reached its full potential. There is a number of reasons for that. I already mentioned one. It tends to be very old and white, male dominant. And the other is legislation. There is not a lot of transparency in this country when it comes to the philanthropic dollar, when it comes to the operations of philanthropic organizations. Yes, there's like CRA, reports and stuff like that. But this philanthropic dollars are taxpayers' dollars. As far as I'm concerned, we need to have a stronger say in how that money is spent and where the money goes. Because those tax-exempt, tax haven dollars, whatever you want to call it, they are not getting to the most vulnerable people, the most marginalized people, and the most needy people, and it should. That is what charity is. That's what philanthropy is. And there's the sheer numbers. Like, we have a few dozen philanthropic organizations. They're doing amazing work. I think we could name them off if we had the time. But underneath that, we have about 10,000 private and public foundations in Canada that control, I think it's $125 billion.
180
and so,
billion. Yeah.
yes, okay, there you go. And if that money was going to, the folks that needed it, we would not have poverty. We would not have homelessness. We would not have the high rates of Black and Indigenous youth suicides that we do. So I think we have a long way to go, because those dozens that are being progressive and doing what they can and bringing in their peers and using their platforms, that's what we see. But what we don't see are those, those 10,000s below the surface who are doing whatever they want when they want, without being accountable to the public. So I think there needs to be legislation shift, but I am very hopeful. We have a lot of great leaders who are really speaking up in this sector about the necessary improvements to philanthropy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I remember during the disbursement quota conversation, my colleagues and I were really trying to understand, even with the victory of raising the quota, it still primarily benefited anchor institutions, hospitals, universities that already have quite a large amount of capital. It didn't actually impact disproportionately nonprofits and charities. So definitely, I couldn't agree more that philanthropic resources go a lot further.
Sorry to interrupt. Before I forget this, and organizations like Laidlaw Foundation, we were already doing 5%. So we were already doing it. And also, it really, yes, exactly. All that to what you said, those who should, those who can should, and they're not really. So tells you a lot. We're sitting on a lot of money, a lot of endowments. Like there's, money is building.
On the same page there completely. So what is your ultimate goal, and what does success look like to you?
Success looks like a healthy community. Success looks like everyone is taken care of. Success looks like those around me are not going without. And that's why I'm so committed to this idea of abundance. Whether it's through accessing grants, whether it's through charitable dollars to organizations, whether it's through funding unincorporated youth groups. Like I want to see people succeeding around me, because I cannot celebrate my own success unless I'm immersed in a community of success.
Ashe, I couldn't agree more. So this is my last question. Do you have any closing thoughts or call to actions for our listeners and our viewers?
I do. I think it's a very difficult time for many folks. When we have brothers and sisters in Palestine who are struggling, I feel a lot of this intergenerational genocidal pain. So I wish that people would stand up and stay standing until we get the ceasefire, until children stop dying. But until then, like, do what you can, vote with your dollars, support Palestinian businesses. I recently supported one called Zatoon, and they support olive tree farmers in Palestine. They are selling certificates to plant trees and organic olive oils. That is so much more better for Christmas or the holidays than giving a bottle of wine. Supporting an organization, charity called Medical Aid for Palestine Canada. So it's called MAP Canada. Consider donating to them to support folks over there. And just, speak your truth, even though your voice shakes. So thank you.
Ashe, thank you for all that you do for so many, and speaking your truth, and your voice has not shaken. If anything, it's aroused our listeners and viewers to act, to think globally, act locally, and we just appreciate you for all that you are and all that you represent. Thank you. So we'll close this interview the way we began, by acknowledging our creator, by giving thanks to the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Janine.
To Miigwech, Victor, it was a pleasure.